When the farmer carried the wounded Apache girl in his arms along the deserted trail, she could barely open her eyes. But that night, when he heard the knocks on the door and saw a symbol carved into the wood, he realized it wasn't just a plea for help, it was an ancestral acknowledgement. The neighbors who saw the mark froze, unable to understand why that sign had been meant for him. Subscribe to the channel, leave your like, and comment where in the world you're watching from, because now I'm going to tell you everything. "It's gonna rain, Tom." Tom Wells looked up from the fence post he was steadying. His neighbor, Ben Carter, stood a few feet away, thumbs hooked in his belt loops. The sky was a flat, dry blue from one end of the desert to the other. "Doesn't look like rain," Tom said. His voice was quiet, like the dust under his boots. "Not today," Ben said. He cracked the knuckles on his right hand, a loud pop in the stillness. "But it will. Been too long. The ground's hard as rock." My Wells whispering. Tom gave the post a final push. It was solid. "A man can hope," he said. It was a conversation they had often. The weather, the land, the lack of rain. It was safe. It did not touch the things underneath. Ben watched him work. "You fixing that whole line by yourself?" "It's just this section," Tom said. He picked up his hammer. "One post at a time." "Claire's roses are still hanging on," Ben said, nodding toward the side of Tom's small, faded farmhouse. A few scraggly bushes clung to life near the porch. Surprised in all this heat, Tom's swing with the hammer was slow and sure. The nail went in straight. He did not look at the roses. "They're tough," he said. A long silence followed, filled only by the sound of the hammer and the distant call of a crow. Ben finally cleared his throat. "Well, I'm headed into Ponderosa Creek. Need anything?" "No," Tom said. "Thank you." Ben nodded, turned and walked back to his truck. Tom heard the engine start, the crunch of tires on gravel, and then the sound faded away. He was alone again. He preferred it that way. Quiet meant nothing was broken. Quiet meant he could hear his own thoughts, and sometimes, if he tried very hard, he could almost hear the echo of a laugh that had been gone for 17 years. His day had begun before the sun, like every day. He had fed his 2 old chickens and his 1 sleepy dog, a brown mutt named Jack. He had drunk his black coffee on the porch watching the stars fade. He had worked on the fence because it needed doing. The rhythm of his life was as familiar as the shape of his own hands. After the fence, he walked the property line. His farm was not big. A few acres of dusty red dirt, some scrub brush, the small house, and a barn that leaned a little to the south. It was a lonely piece of earth, but it was his. He had come here with Claire from Oklahoma a lifetime ago. The dry air was supposed to help her breathe. For 3 years it had. Then, one terrible night, it had not. The doctor in Safford had called it a severe asthma attack. Tom called it the end of the world. He had stayed. Leaving would have been like leaving her behind. So he stayed, and the days piled up like the stones along the edge of his field. He finished his walk and went inside the house. It was clean and very still. A single chair at the kitchen table, a single plate in the drying rack, a photograph of a woman with a gentle smile on the living room shelf. He did not need to look at it. He knew every detail by heart. He made himself a simple lunch. He sat and ate it, listening to the old clock tick on the wall. Later, he tended to the roses. He gave them a little water, careful not to waste a drop. Their pink petals were faded and thin, but they were alive. He touched one gently. "Hanging in there," he whispered. As the long afternoon stretched out, he sat on his porch. Jack lay at his feet. The heat rose in waves from the land, making the distant mountains shimmer. He watched a truck wind its way along the distant road to the San Carlos Apache reservation. He never went that way. His world was his farm, the road to Ben's place, and the occasional trip into Ponderosa Creek for supplies. That was enough. Other people's lives were complicated. His was simple. He tended, he mended, he remembered. The sun began to sink, painting the sky in colors of orange and purple. A cooler breeze stirred the dust. Tom went inside. He locked the door, a habit from a lifetime of living alone. He turned on one lamp. He was a man of 58 years. His skin was leathery from the sun. His hair was gray. His blue eyes were set deep in a face that did not smile often. He moved without hurry. He was tired, but it was the tiredness of a full day's work, not the aching tiredness of grief. That was a different feeling, one he kept in a small, locked room inside himself. He got ready for bed. The house was so silent he could hear the hum of the refrigerator in the kitchen. He looked out the window at the endless starry night. So much emptiness. It could feel peaceful, or it could feel like a weight. He climbed into his empty bed. He thought about the fence post, solid in the ground. He thought about the roses. He thought about Claire. He did not think about tomorrow, because tomorrow would be the same as today. That was his quiet life. It was lonely, but it was his. He did not want anything to change. Outside, the vast desert night pressed against the walls of the little house. A coyote called far away. The wind picked up, whispering through the scrub brush, carrying the scent of dry earth and distant hills. It sounded, for just a moment, like a knock. The wind died down after midnight, and the silence that followed was deeper than before. Tom woke with the first light, his body following its old rhythm. Another day. The heat came early. By 10 in the morning, the sun was a white coin in a sky without clouds. The air felt thick and heavy. Tom filled a canteen with water, called for Jack, and started his walk to the east pasture. He used the same trail every time, a narrow path worn into the red earth between stands of dry brush. Jack trotted ahead, nose to the ground. The only sounds were their footsteps and the buzz of insects. Tom's shirt was already stuck to his back. He took a drink from his canteen, the water warm but good. He saw Jack stop first. The dog's body went still, his head lifted, and a low whine came from his throat. He was looking at a spot off the trail near a large gray rock. "What is it, boy?" Tom said. He walked closer. A person was lying on the ground, partly hidden by the shadow of the rock. Tom's heart gave a hard thump. He hurried forward. It was a woman. She was on her side, her eyes closed. Her long black hair was tangled with dust. She wore blue jeans and a dark green shirt. One of her legs was bent at a bad angle. Her face was tight with pain, even in her stillness. Tom knelt down. "Hello? Can you hear me?" Her eyes opened slowly. They were dark and full of focus. She looked right at him. She did not seem surprised. "My leg," she said. Her voice was a dry whisper. "I see it," Tom said. "My name is Tom. I have a farm not too far from here." "Lena," she said. "My name is Lena." She tried to move and a sharp gasp escaped her lips. "Don't try to move," Tom said. He looked at her leg again. It was clearly broken. He looked at the empty land around them. The reservation was miles away. His farm was closer, but he had no truck here, no phone. "Where are you from?" "San Carlos?" She gave a small nod. "My family. They are in the village by the big mesquite trees." Tom knew the place. It was a long walk, a very long walk in this heat for a healthy person. For someone with a broken leg, it was impossible. He did not think. He unscrewed the cap from his canteen. "Here, drink." She took the canteen and drank carefully. Her hands were shaking. "Thank you," she said. "I'm going to get you home," Tom said. His voice was calm, the same voice he used with a spooked animal. "It will not be comfortable, but I will be careful." He stood up and looked around. He found two long, straight branches that had fallen from a Palo Verde tree. He used his pocket knife to cut away the small twigs. He took off his belt and the bandana from his neck. He came back and knelt beside her. "This will help keep your leg still," he said. He gently straightened her leg as much as he dared. She shut her eyes hard but did not cry out. He placed the branches on either side of her leg and used his belt and the bandana to tie them in place. It was a rough splint, but it was something. "Now," he said, "I'm going to lift you." He moved slowly. He put one arm under her knees below the splint and the other behind her back. He took a deep breath and stood up. She was not a large woman, but carrying another person was different from carrying a sack of grain. She was a living weight. She put one arm around his shoulders to steady herself. "I am sorry," she whispered. "It is okay," he said. He began to walk. The trail back to the main path seemed longer than ever. His arms began to burn. The sun beat down on them. He walked steadily, placing his feet with care to avoid stumbling. Jack walked beside them, confused but quiet. "You are very strong," Lena said after a while. "I am used to hard work," Tom said. His breath was coming harder now. They did not speak much after that. The work of moving took all of Tom's focus. He stopped a few times to rest, lowering Lena gently onto a flat rock while he drank a little water and let the fire in his muscles cool. Each time, he picked her up again. He left his own land and followed the dusty road toward the reservation. Cars passed them, 2 of them. The drivers stared but did not stop. Tom kept walking. After what felt like many hours, he saw the cluster of houses near a grove of large, twisted mesquite trees. Smoke rose from a chimney. A few children playing in a yard saw them and ran inside. A man and a woman came out of a small, pale blue house. The woman's hand flew to her mouth. "Lena!" Tom walked the last 50 steps. His legs were trembling. The man, tall and with a serious face, rushed forward. "What happened?" "Found her on my east trail," Tom said, his voice rough. "Leg is broken." The man helped Tom carry Lena the last few feet into the shade of the porch. They laid her carefully on a cot that the woman brought out. The woman was already bringing water and clean cloths. Another person came from a neighbor's house. Tom stepped back, his arms feeling empty and strange. He wiped the sweat from his face with the back of his hand. He was dizzy. He drank the rest of the water in his canteen. The woman, Lena's mother, turned to him. Her eyes were full of tears. "Thank you. Thank you for bringing our daughter home. What can we give you? We have food. We have some money." Tom shook his head. He looked at Lena on the cot. Her eyes were open, watching him. "No," he said. "A glass of water would be good." They brought him a tall, cold glass of water from inside. He drank it all. It was the best water he had ever tasted. Lena spoke from the cot. Her voice was stronger. "You saved my life. I will not forget this." Tom nodded. He set the empty glass on the porch rail. "You should see a doctor for that leg," he said. He looked at the family gathered around her. "I will go now." He called for Jack. He turned and started the long walk back to his farm. He did not look back. The sun was lower in the sky and the walk home was quiet. His body ached, but his mind was calm. He had done a good thing, a simple thing. Now life would go back to normal. The deep sleep of exhaustion did not last. A sound pulled Tom from the dark, a hard, sharp sound. Asterisk knock, knock, knock. He opened his eyes. His room was pitch black. Jack gave a soft asterisk woof asterisk from the floor beside the bed. The sound came again. 3 precise knocks on the front door. They were not friendly. Tom sat up, his body sore from the day's-long carry. He looked at the clock. It was 3 in the morning. No one came to his farm at 3 in the morning. "Who is it?" he called out. His voice was rough with sleep. No one answered. He got out of bed slowly. He pulled on his pants and found his heavy flashlight. Jack was at his heels, a low growl in his throat. Tom walked through the dark living room, the floorboards cool under his feet. He stopped in front of the door. "Hello?" he said, louder this time. Silence from the other side. He unlocked the door and pulled it open, the flashlight beam cutting into the night. Nothing. The porch was empty. The vast desert night stretched out, filled with stars and shadows. The air was cold. No car engine faded into the distance. No footsteps crunched on the gravel. It was as if the sound had been made by the wind, but the night was perfectly still. Jack pushed past him, sniffing the porch boards urgently. The dog's tail was stiff. Tom swung the flashlight beam across the yard. Empty. He was about to close the door when the light caught something on the wood itself. He lowered the beam. There, at the center of his old painted door, was a mark. It was not painted. It was carved, deeply carved into the wood, as if done with a very sharp tool. He moved closer. It was a symbol, a circle with lines crossing through it, and more lines weaving around the outside. It looked old. It was not like any writing he had ever seen. He ran his fingers over it. The grooves were smooth and deep. This had taken time and strength. Someone had stood right here and carved this while he slept just a few feet away. A cold feeling spread in his stomach. This was not random. This was a message, but he could not read it. He shut and locked the door. He sat in his chair for a long time, the flashlight off, just looking into the darkness. Who would do this, and why? He thought of Lena's family. They were grateful, not angry. This did not feel like a threat. But it did not feel like a gift either. It felt heavy. He did not sleep again. When the sun finally rose, Tom made coffee. He went outside several times to look at the symbol in the daylight. It was even more clear. A deliberate, powerful mark on his home. He needed another pair of eyes. After his morning chores, he got in his truck and drove the mile down the dirt road to Ben Carter's place. Ben was in his barn fixing a harness. He looked up as Tom's truck pulled in. "Morning, Tom. You look like you didn't sleep much." "I didn't," Tom said. He walked up to the barn door. "Something happened last night. I need you to see something." Ben wiped his hands on his pants. "What is it?" "Just come look." They drove back to Tom's farm in silence. Tom parked and went straight to his front door. He pointed at the symbol. Ben leaned in, his eyes squinting. Then his face changed. All the color drained from his sun-reddened cheeks. He took a step back. He looked from the symbol to Tom's face and then back at the symbol. His mouth was open slightly. "You know what this is," Tom said. Ben's voice was a whisper. "Where did it come from?" "Someone carved it on my door last night, in the middle of the night. Woke me with knocking, but no one was there. Just this." Ben ran a hand over his mouth. He looked scared. Tom had never seen Ben look scared before. Ben was always gruff, sure of himself. Now he looked like he had seen a ghost. "Ben, what is it?" Ben took a deep breath. He spoke slowly, his eyes glued to the carving. "It's Apache. It's an old mark. My granddaddy told me about it once. He saw it on a doorpost down near the border maybe 70 years ago." "What does it mean?" "It's called the shadow of the mountain," Ben said. The words sounded foreign and heavy in his mouth. "It's a pledge, a promise of protection. The most sacred kind. It's almost never given. And it is never given to an outsider." Tom stared at the interlocking lines in the circle. "Protection? From what?" "From everything," Ben said, his voice low and urgent. "It means you are watched over. It means if you are in trouble, they will come. It means you are part of something, a story, their story." He finally looked at Tom, his eyes wide. "What did you do, Tom?" "I told you. I carried that woman home. I had a glass of water. I left." "You did something more," Ben insisted. "Something they see as worthy of this." He pointed a shaky finger at the door. "This isn't a thank you note. This is a life debt. This marks you. It marks your home." Tom felt a confusion that was tipping into fear. "I don't want a mark. I don't want to be part of a story. I just helped someone." "Well, it's too late," Ben said. He backed away another step, as if the symbol itself could reach out. "You have it now, and everyone will know what it means. The people in town, everyone." He shook his head, a deep frown on his face. "Tom, you fool. You don't know what you've gotten. This ain't a gift, it's a target." Ben turned and walked quickly to his truck. He got in and drove away without another word, leaving Tom alone with the strange symbol on his door. Tom reached out and touched the carved lines again. The wood was warm from the morning sun. A shadow of the mountain. He looked out at the dry red hills, at the vast, empty sky. He had wanted his quiet life back, but the mark on his door said that life was over. Something new had begun, and he did not understand the rules. The silence Ben left behind felt heavier than before. Tom spent the morning staring at the symbol, then trying not to look at it. He finally decided he needed supplies. Maybe in Ponderosa Creek things would feel normal. Maybe Ben was wrong. The general store on Main Street was the same as always. Cool, dim, smelling of wood and coffee. Old Mr. Henderson was behind the counter reading a newspaper. He looked up as the bell on the door jingled. His smile faded just a little when he saw Tom. "Tom," Mr. Henderson said. His voice was careful. "Afternoon, Jim," Tom said. He picked up a basket and started down the aisle for nails and coffee. He felt eyes on him. Two women from the church, Mrs. Grady and Lisa Flynn, were looking at cans of soup. They stopped talking when he passed. He nodded at them. They nodded back, their faces stiff. Then they leaned close together and began to whisper, their eyes flicking toward him. Tom's neck grew warm. He focused on the shelf. He went to the counter with his items. Mr. Henderson rang them up slowly. "Heard you had some excitement out your way?" the older man said, not meeting Tom's eyes. "Did you?" Tom said. "Ben Carter was in earlier. Said you got some kind of Indian marking on your door now." Tom put his money on the counter. "It's there." Mr. Henderson handed him his change. "That true? What it means? That they're watching out for you now?" "So I'm told, Mr." Henderson let out a low breath. "Well, that's something." He didn't say if it was a good something or a bad something. As Tom walked out to his truck, he saw Davy Miller and his son pumping gas across the street. Davy saw him and elbowed his boy. They both stared, not waving. Tom raised a hand. Davy gave a slow, single nod, then turned his back. The drive home was quiet, but the quiet felt different. It felt full of the whispers he had left behind. The next morning, he went out to mend the east fence. The old gate there had been sagging on its hinges for months. He'd been using a rock to prop it open. When he got there, the gate was closed, and it was straight. He pushed it. It swung smoothly without a scrape. He looked at the hinges. They were clean and tight. Someone had fixed them. They had used his tools, which were still in the shed, but they had done the work. Tom stood there for a long time. He hadn't told anyone about the gate. He hadn't asked for help. Later that afternoon, he went to check on the young calf, the one that had been sickly and weak for days. He expected to find it lying down, barely moving. Instead, the calf was on its feet, nuzzling its mother. Its eyes were clear. It took a few wobbly steps toward Tom. It was not completely well, but it was better, much better. On the ground near the fence post was a small pile of chewed roots and herbs Tom did not recognize. He picked up one of the roots and sniffed it. It had a sharp, clean smell. That evening, he called for Jack and the dog didn't come. A spike of fear went through Tom. He walked around the house, whistling. He found Jack and the other farm dog, Molly, behind the barn. They were drinking deeply from a large, new ceramic bowl full of fresh, cool water. Their own water dish by the porch was empty and dry. This bowl was not his. Tom picked it up. It was heavy, beautifully made from dark clay, with simple geometric patterns pressed into the sides. It was a good bowl, a gift. He put it down and sat on an old tree stump. Jack came over and laid his head on Tom's knee. "Things are happening, Jack," Tom said quietly. The protection was real. It was quiet, and it was kind. The fixed gate, the healed calf, the water bowl, these were not threats. They were actions. They said, asterisk, "We see you. We are here." But Ben's words echoed in his head. Asterisk, a target. The people in town had looked at him like he was a puzzle they didn't like. They were jealous. They were suspicious. Why did Asterisk get this mark? What made Asterisk him Asterisk special? Their world had clear sides, town people and reservation people. Tom had stepped into the space between, and now he belonged to neither side, or maybe to both. He carried the new water bowl to the porch. He filled it and set it next to the old one. He looked at his door. The symbol seemed to watch him back. He had wanted to be left alone, but the mark on his door was an invitation. It invited help from one side. It invited trouble from the other. His quiet life was not just over. It was being taken apart and put back together by hands he could not see. A week passed. The whispers in town did not stop, but they became a background noise. Tom focused on his work. The small, helpful things on his farm continued. A sack of grain appeared in his barn. The leak in his roof over the kitchen was fixed with new shingles, the work clean and exact. He never saw who did it. One afternoon, a different kind of truck came up his driveway. It was new, shiny, and silver. It kicked up a perfect plume of red dust. Tom was chopping wood beside the barn. He stopped and watched the truck park. A man got out. He wore crisp jeans, a striped shirt, and boots that looked expensive. He had a sharp, clean-shaven face and a smile that was wide but did not touch his eyes. He walked over, flicking a heavy silver ring on his finger. "Tom Wells?" the man said, his voice friendly. "That's me," Tom said, setting his axe down. "Hank Riggs." The man stuck out his hand. Tom wiped his hand on his pants and shook it. Hank's grip was very firm. "I'm with Solstice Mining. Heard a lot about you." "Not much to hear," Tom said. "Oh, I think there is." Hank looked around, his eyes scanning the barn, the house, the land. "Nice place you got here, quiet. A man could be happy here." I am, Tom said. Sure, sure. Hank nodded. He turned his smile back on Tom. I'll get right to it, Tom. Can I call you Tom? My company is starting a new project, a copper mine, just on the other side of those hills. He pointed toward the reservation lands. It's going to be big. It's going to bring jobs, a lot of money into Ponderosa Creek. Tom waited. He didn't say anything. Progress, Hank said, as if it were a magic word. The thing is, we need a good access road for our heavy equipment. The best route runs right along the edge of your property here. He took a step closer. We want to buy your land, Tom. The whole farm. We'll give you a very fair price. More than fair. You could retire. Move somewhere easier. No more hard days in the sun. Tom looked at his hands, then at his house. It's not for sale. Hank's smile tightened at the corners. Now hear the offer before you decide. $75,000. Cash. It was more money than Tom had ever seen. It was more than the farm was worth. He thought about it for a moment. He thought about leaving the ache of Claire's memory behind. He thought about quiet somewhere else. Then he thought of the symbol on his door. The water bowl for his dogs. The fixed gate. No, Tom said, his voice quiet but clear. I'm not selling. The friendly light left Hank's eyes. It happened fast. The smile became a flat line. That's a mistake, Tom. It's my land. It's a key piece of land, Hank corrected. And key pieces get used, one way or another. He flicked his ring again. The tribe is causing problems, saying the land we want is sacred, trying to stop progress. You've been spending time out on the reservation, I hear. I took a hurt woman home, that's all. And got a nice thank you note on your door, Hank said. His voice was colder now. People in town are talking. They're wondering whose side you're on. The side that brings jobs and a future for their kids, or the side that lives in the past? Tom felt a knot form in his chest. There don't have to be sides. There are always sides, Hank said. He took a step back toward his shiny truck. Think about the offer, Tom. Think about your neighbors. Think about what's good for this community. I'll be in town for a few days. The offer stands, but not forever. He got in his truck and drove away, leaving Tom alone with the echo of his words. The next day, Tom had to go into town for more nails. The mood at the hardware store was different. A group of men, including Davy Miller, were standing near the counter. They stopped talking when Tom walked in. Davy stepped forward. Heard Hank Riggs paid you a visit, Tom. He did, Tom said, picking up a box of nails. He's a straight shooter, another man said. That mine's gonna put my boy to work. Good wages. Tom paid for the nails. That's good, he said. Is it? Davy asked. He crossed his arms. Hank says you won't sell. That true? All the men were looking at him. Tom felt the weight of their stares. My farm is not for sale. Davy shook his head, his face hard. Your farm is in the way, Tom. My boy's future, Mike's future over there, the whole town's future. And you're in the way. Over what? Some rocks and old stories? It's my home, Tom said, but his voice sounded small under their gaze. We all got homes, Davy said, but we also got families to feed. You're alone. Maybe you don't get that. The words hit Tom like a physical blow. He took his nails and left without another word. As he drove out of town, he saw a poster in the window of the diner. Solstice Mining Jobs Progress public meeting tonight. Everyone was choosing a side, and they were making him choose too. Hank Riggs wasn't just offering money. He was offering Tom a way back into the town's good graces. All he had to do was sell, and the whispers would stop. He would be one of them again. He pulled up to his farmhouse. The late sun made the deep grooves of the symbol on his door stand out in sharp shadow. It looked less like a mark now, and more like a door itself. A door he hadn't meant to open. The feeling of being a door did not last. The feeling of being a target did. 2 days after Hank Riggs's visit, Tom was woken just after dawn by the sound of multiple vehicles speeding past his farm toward the hills. They were large trucks. He knew they were heading for the mining site. He did his chores with a heavy feeling. Around mid-morning, he saw Ben Carter's truck coming up the drive, fast. Ben got out before the truck had fully stopped. His face was red, and he wasn't just worried now. He was scared. You need to get in, Ben said, his voice tight. Now. What happened? Just get in the truck, Tom. You need to see this. Everyone else already has. They drove toward the mining site, bouncing over the rough track. Before they reached it, they came to a clearing where a crowd of men from town had gathered. Hank Riggs stood in the center of them, his expensive boots covered in dust, his face a mask of pure fury. In front of the crowd was a giant yellow bulldozer. Its engine cover was propped open. Two of Hank's workers were staring inside and shaking their heads. But that wasn't what the crowd was staring at. On the side of the bulldozer, painted in a rough reddish-brown clay, was the symbol. The same lines, the same circle. It was big and bold on the yellow metal. Hank saw Tom and Ben getting out of the truck, his eyes locked on Tom. He pointed a finger sharp as a knife. "You!" Hank shouted. The crowd of men turned to look. "You did this, or you told them to do it." Tom walked closer, his heart pounding. "I didn't touch your machine." "Sand!" Hank yelled, spittle flying from his mouth. "Someone poured sand into the fuel tank and into the engine. It's sea-solid, it's ruined. $100,000 machine, and they left their calling card." He slammed his hand against the painted symbol. "Your friends." "They're not my friends," Tom said, but his voice was lost in the angry murmur of the crowd. Davy Miller stepped forward. "It's the same mark from your door, Tom. We all saw it. Ben told us." Ben looked at the ground, ashamed. "It's a declaration of war," Hank said, his voice dropping to a low, dangerous growl. He addressed the men from the town. "This is what happens when we let sentiment get in the way of progress. This man," he pointed at Tom again, "he chooses a side. He chooses their superstitions over your jobs, over your children's future. And now they've destroyed company property. This is a crime." The men from town looked from the ruined bulldozer to Tom. Their faces were no longer just suspicious. They were angry, betrayed. "I didn't ask for this mark," Tom said, louder this time. "But you have it," Hank shot back. "And now it's here, on my equipment. You're in league with them. You're against this town. It's that simple." One of the other men, a quiet man named Phil, who Tom had helped fix a flat tire once, spoke up. "Just sell your land, Tom. Make this stop." "Selling won't stop this now," Hank said, his eyes cold on Tom. "This is bigger than your little farm. This is about respect, and I will have it." Ben drove Tom back home in silence. When they pulled up to the farmhouse, Ben didn't turn off the engine. He stared straight ahead. "You should leave, Tom," Ben said quietly. "This is my home." "It's not safe anymore," Ben said. He finally looked at Tom, and his eyes were full of a sad, firm certainty. "Hank won't let this go. The town, they're with him. They're scared for their jobs, and now they're mad. They need someone to blame. It's you." "I didn't do anything wrong," Tom said, the words feeling weak and useless. "It doesn't matter." Ben's voice rose. "Don't you see? You're in the middle. The town hates you for a mark you didn't ask for. The Apache protect you, but you don't even know them. You're alone, really alone now." Tom looked at his friend. "You think I should go?" Ben's jaw tightened. "I think if you stay, something bad will happen. I can't stop it. I can't help you." He looked down at his hands on the steering wheel. "I have my own family to think about. This is our home, and you're letting their magic hoodoo marks decide what happens? You're either with us or you're not." There it was, the final choice, the line in the sand. Tom opened the truck door and got out. He didn't say anything else. He walked toward his house. Ben sat for a moment longer, then put the truck in reverse and backed away. He didn't wave. Tom stood on his porch. He looked at the carved symbol on his door. Then he looked out at the empty road, the direction of the town that had turned against him. Then he turned and looked the other way, toward the distant hills of the reservation, where people he didn't understand acted in ways he couldn't predict to protect him for reasons he didn't know. Ben was right. He was stuck in the middle. The town saw a traitor. The Apache saw something else. And he was just a tired farmer who carried a hurt woman home. He had to understand. He had to find out why. The road to the reservation was one Tom had only traveled once before, with a hurt woman in his arms. Now he drove it alone, the dust from his tires hanging in the still air. He didn't know what he would say. He just knew he had to see her. He found the pale blue house under the mesquite trees. The same children played in the yard. They stopped and watched his truck pull up. An older man, the one who had helped carry Lena inside, came out onto the porch. His expression was not friendly, but it was not hostile either. It was guarded. "I'm looking for Lena," Tom said, getting out of his truck. "She is resting," the man said. "My name is Tom Wells. I carried her home." The man's eyes softened just a little. "I remember. I am her brother Michael. Wait here." Michael went inside. A few minutes later, the door opened again. Lena stepped out. She walked with a slight limp, using a simple wooden cane. She looked stronger. Her calm eyes found his, and she gave a small nod. "Tom," she said. "I need to understand," he said. The words came out in a rush. "The mark on my door. The things that have happened. The town is against me. A man named Hank Riggs says I am his enemy. I just carried you home. Why is this happening?" Lena watched his face. She turned to her brother. "Can we have some water, please?" Michael glanced at Tom, then went inside. Lena gestured to 2 chairs on the porch. "Sit, please." Tom sat. The fear and confusion felt like a knot in his chest. Lena sat across from him, her hands resting on her cane. "You asked why. The answer is not simple, but I will try." She took a breath. "I am a teacher. I teach our history, our language. I work to remember the old ways." Tom nodded, listening. "The day you found me, I was not just walking," she said. "I was going to see a place of old pictures on stone. The mining company wants to blow up that land for copper. That night before I fell, I had a vision. A vision? Like a dream, but stronger, real. It comes to some of us." Her voice was steady. "In the vision, I saw a man with a lonely heart. He stood in a dry riverbed. On one side of him was a wall of water, a flood that would destroy everything. On the other side was a great fire, burning the land. The man stood in the middle. He was a bridge. He was not holding the water or the fire back with his hands. He was just standing there. Because of him, the water and the fire could not touch each other. Because of him, the land in between was safe." Tom stared at her. He did not know what to say. "Then I fell," Lena continued. "I was hurt. I could not move, and you came. You did not see an Apache woman. You saw a person. You picked me up. You carried me. You asked for nothing." She leaned forward slightly. "When you left, I knew. You were the man from the vision, the man with the lonely heart." Tom shook his head. "I'm just a farmer." "You are a good man," Lena said. "In a world that only sees sides, that is a powerful thing, a rare thing. My vision showed me that a bridge was needed, here, now. The mining company is the flood. The anger of my people is the fire. You are in the middle." "The symbol," Tom said. "I told my family about the vision. I told them about you. The symbol is very old. It is a promise, a shadow of the mountain. It tells my people to protect you, to watch over you, because you are important, not because you are a warrior, because you are a bridge." Tom thought of the fixed gate, the healed calf, the water bowl. "They have been helping me." "Yes," she said. "And the mark on the machine? That was not my doing. That was the anger of others. But they used the symbol to show you are connected, to show we are connected." Michael came back out with 2 glasses of water. He handed one to Tom, then stood by the door listening. Tom drank the water. It was cool. "Hank Riggs wants to burn my life down. The town wants me gone. You say I am a bridge. I don't know how to be that. I just wanted to be left alone." Lena nodded. "I know. The vision did not ask for your permission. It only showed what is needed. The symbol is not just for your protection, Tom. It is also a challenge." "A challenge?" "It asks you to protect others," she said. Her dark eyes were serious. "It asks you to stand. The sacred land, our history, my people. We cannot stop the flood alone. You stand on land they need. You stand with a heart they do not understand. You can be the space between the water and the fire." Tom felt the weight of her words. It was too big. "What if I can't? What if I sell my farm and leave?" Lena was silent for a moment. "You can," she said softly. "No one would blame you. You have already done a kind thing. You could take the money and go. The flood would come. The fire would rise. They would destroy each other, and the land between would be gone." She paused. "Or you can stay. You can be the bridge. It will be hard. It will be dangerous, but you will not be alone. Tom looked from Lena to her brother Michael. Michael's face was unreadable, but he gave a single, slow nod. Tom finished his water. He had come for an answer, and he had gotten one. It was not a simple answer. It was not an easy answer. It was an answer that asked him for more than he had ever thought to give. He placed the empty glass carefully on the porch floor. "I need to think," he said. "I know," Lena said. He stood up and walked back to his truck. The lonely heart she spoke of was beating hard inside his chest. He had a choice now, a real choice. He could run from the weight, or he could try to carry it. The drive back from the reservation was longer than the drive there. The words spun in Tom's head. Asterisk a bridge, a challenge, protect others. His farm looked the same when he pulled in. The quiet house, the leaning barn, the dry fields, but it felt different. It felt like a piece on a board, and someone else was moving the pieces around him. He fed the animals, his hands doing the work automatically. That evening, as the sun set, he stood before his door. He traced the carved symbol with his fingers, a shadow of the mountain. It was not a decoration. It was a question. Were his quiet years here just waiting for this moment? Was his whole life before just a preparation for a stand he never wanted to make? He thought of Claire. He tried to imagine what she would say. She had been brave. She had left Oklahoma for this hard, beautiful place because she believed in a future. He had stayed because he was clinging to the past. "What do I do?" he whispered to the empty porch. The next morning, Ben's truck came up the drive again. This time, Ben did not get out. He rolled down the window. His face was tired and grim. "Public meeting was last night," Ben said. His voice was flat. "At the town hall." Tom walked over to the truck. And Hank Riggs talked for an hour. Jobs, money, progress. He showed pictures of what the mine will look like. "He called you by name, Tom." He didn't yell. He was calm. "He said you were a good man who got confused. He said you were under the influence of outsiders who don't want the town to succeed." Tom leaned against the hot metal of the truck door. "What did people say?" "They cheered him," Ben said, looking straight ahead through the windshield. "They're scared. They want the jobs. Hank promised them everything. He said the only thing standing in the way is one man on a key piece of land who is being manipulated by a bunch of—" Ben stopped at himself. He shook his head. "You know what they're saying." "I do," Tom said. Ben finally looked at him. "He's giving you one last chance. Sell. Take the money. Leave by the end of the week. If you don't—" Ben's knuckles were white on the steering wheel. "He said he can't be responsible for what the townsfolk might do. He said sentiment might turn to action. He made it sound like it wouldn't be his fault, but it would be." "He's telling them to hurt me," Tom said. "He's telling them you're the problem," Ben corrected. "And when people are afraid and angry, they solve problems." Ben's voice dropped. "I can't stop it, Tom. I won't even be there. My family. I have to think of them. You need to go. Tonight. Just pack up and go." Tom looked at his old friend. He saw the fear and the shame underneath it. Ben believed this was the only way. "If I go," Tom said slowly, "what happens to Lena's people? To that sacred land?" Ben's face hardened. "That's not your fight. This is your life, Tom. This is your land. Why are you worrying about their rocks and stories now?" "Because it's the right thing to worry about," Tom said, the words surprising him with their certainty. Ben stared at him. He saw the decision forming in Tom's eyes. He let out a long, frustrated breath. "You're choosing them over your own people." "I'm not choosing sides, Ben. I'm choosing my porch. I'm choosing my door." He nodded toward the carved symbol. "They put that there because they saw I didn't choose sides. They saw I just helped a person. Now Hank is making everyone choose. And you've chosen." Ben's face flushed red. He put the truck in gear. "You're a fool then. A dead fool. Don't come to my house for help. Don't even look my way." He reversed fast, spinning the tires in the dirt, and drove away. Tom was alone. Truly alone now. The town had made its choice. Ben had made his. Hank Riggs had made his. He walked into his house. He could pack. He had a little money saved. He could be in another state by tomorrow night. Quiet, safe, nobody's bridge, nobody's target. He opened his closet. He looked at his suitcase on the top shelf. He reached for it. Then he stopped. His hand fell to his side. He thought of the water left for his dogs. He thought of the sick calf well again. He thought of Lena's calm eyes telling him he was seen. He thought of Claire, who believed in a future. He was not a warrior. He was not a leader. He was a tired man. But he was a man who owned his land. He was a man who could stand on it. He did not take the suitcase down. He closed the closet door. He walked back outside onto his porch. He sat in his chair and looked at the land, the red dirt, the scrub, the wide sky. This was his, not Hank Riggs's, not the town's, his. The protection was a challenge. To stay was to accept it. It meant danger. It meant standing between the flood and the fire. He watched the sun move across the sky. He did not pack. He did not leave. He simply sat. And in the sitting, he made his choice. He would stand his ground. The decision to stay did not bring peace. It brought a tight, waiting feeling. Tom moved through the next day like a man in a dream. Every sound made him look up. Every distant engine made his heart beat faster. He moved the animals from the barn to the smaller, older shed closer to the house. He filled every bucket and trough with water from the well. He did not know why. It just felt like the right thing to do. That same afternoon, in a trailer office at the mining site, Hank Riggs was ending a phone call. His voice was smooth, agreeable. "Yes, sir, understood. It'll be handled by tomorrow. The access issue will be resolved." He hung up and looked at his foreman, a large man named Carl. "He's not leaving." Carl shifted his weight. "The town's pretty riled up, but nobody's made a move." "Because they're all talk," Hank said, flicking his ring. He stood up and looked out the dirty window toward Tom's land. "They need a push, a final message. Our friend Tom needs to understand there are no more chances." "What are you thinking?" Carl asked. Hank turned, his eyes cold. "I'm thinking his barn is a long way from his house. I'm thinking a fire in the night would be a terrible thing. A tragic accident. It would show him how alone he is. It would show everyone what happens when you stand in the way." Carl's face was careful. "That's serious. So is a multi-million-dollar project being held up by one old man and a bunch of superstitious nonsense," Hank said, his voice sharp. "Take 2 men. Go tonight. Late. Use gasoline. Make sure it catches fast. I don't want anyone hurt," he added, holding up a finger. "Just the barn. The message is the loss, the fear." Tom knew. He could feel it in the air, like the change before a storm. As night fell, he brought Jack and Molly inside the house. The dogs were restless. He did not turn on any lights. He sat in his dark living room looking out the window toward the barn, a black shape against the starry sky. He thought about getting his shotgun. It was in the closet. He had not used it in years. He decided against it. A gun would mean he expected a fight. He did not want a fight. He just wanted to stand on his land. He heard the trucks before he saw their headlights. 2 sets, moving slowly without lights on the main road, then turning off onto the track that led to the back of his property. They were coming the long way around, avoiding the house. This was it, Hank's final move. Tom stood up. His legs felt steady. He walked to his front door. He put his hand on the carved symbol for a moment, then opened it and stepped out onto the porch. The night air was cool. He walked across the yard, toward the path that led to the barn. He did not run. He did not hide. He stopped halfway between his house and the barn. He could see the shapes of 3 men moving near the old wooden structure. He saw the glint of a metal can. He heard a low voice and the sound of liquid splashing against wood. Tom took a deep breath. His voice cut through the quiet night, clear and firm. "That's far enough." The shapes froze. A flashlight beam snapped on, blinding him. Tom shielded his eyes but did not move. "Go home," Tom said. "There won't be any fire here tonight." The man with the flashlight lowered it. It was Carl. Tom recognized him from town. Carl looked uncomfortable. The 2 other men with him looked young, nervous. "Mr. Wells," Carl said, "you should be inside. You shouldn't be out here." "It's my land," Tom said. "I go where I please." One of the younger men took a step forward, trying to sound tough. "You're just one old man. You can't stop us." "Maybe not," Tom said. He kept his eyes on Carl. "But then you'll have to explain a burned barn, and you'll have to live with it. Hank won't. He'll be in another state in a month. You'll be here, with what you did. Carl hesitated. He looked from Tom to the barn, then back toward the dark road. It was then that Tom saw a new light, not a flashlight, the soft glow of a single lantern coming from the direction of the reservation trail. Then another, and another. Figures emerged from the darkness, walking quietly. They did not come quickly. They did not make a sound. They simply walked into the space between Tom and the men with the gasoline can. They formed a line. Lena was there, standing tall without her cane. Her brother Michael was beside her. There were others, men and women Tom did not know. They held no weapons. They just stood. Carl and his men took a step back, stunned. Tom looked at the silent line of people beside him. He had never felt less alone in his life. He turned back to Carl. His voice was quiet, but it carried in the still night. "Like I said, go home." Carl stared at the group, at Tom, at the untouched barn. He swallowed hard. He made a sharp gesture to the two younger men. They dropped the gasoline can. It landed with a hollow clang on the hard dirt. Then all three of them turned and hurried back into the darkness toward their trucks. Tom listened to the engine start and fade away. He let out a long, slow breath. He turned to face the people who had come. The lantern light flickered on their calm, determined faces. Lena stepped forward. She gave him a small, solemn nod. The bridge had been formed. The sound of the trucks disappeared into the night. For a long moment, no one moved. The only light came from the few lanterns casting long, dancing shadows. Tom looked at the silent line of people beside him. He saw their faces, calm and sure in the flickering light. Lena stepped forward. "They will not come back tonight," she said. Tom nodded. He tried to find words. "Thank you," was all he could manage. It did not feel like enough. Michael, Lena's brother, spoke. "We did not come to fight. We came to stand." He looked at Tom. "You stood first." One by one, the others turned and began to walk back into the darkness, the way they had come. They did not say goodbye. Their presence had been the message. Lena and Michael stayed. "The mark on your door," Lena said quietly. It asked a question. "Tonight, you gave the answer." Tom looked back at his house, a dark shape in the distance. "What happens now?" "Now things are different," Michael said. "Hank Riggs works for a company. The company only cares about money. He failed tonight. He looks weak. The men from town saw that he is not as strong as he said. They also saw that you are not alone. This changes the math." Lena placed a hand on her brother's arm. She looked at Tom. "The bridge is built. It does not mean the water and the fire are gone. It means they must go around. You have a new family now. We have a new brother." The words settled over Tom. They did not feel strange. They felt true. He had been alone for so long. Now he was not. "Will there be more trouble?" Tom asked. "Maybe," Michael said. "But not like this. Not with fire. The fight will be in papers. In courts. It will be slower. We have a voice now, and you are part of it." They talked for a few more minutes. Then Lena and Michael turned to leave. "Come to the reservation tomorrow," Lena said. "There are people who want to meet you, not as the man from the vision, as Tom." "I will," Tom said. He watched their lanterns grow smaller until they were swallowed by the night. He picked up the abandoned gasoline can and carried it to his shed. He locked it inside. Then he walked back to his house, the dogs following at his heels. The next morning, the world looked the same, but it was not. Tom did his chores. He saw a car slow down on the main road. It was Davy Miller's car. Davy did not stop. He just drove by slower than usual, looking at the farm. His face was unreadable. Then he drove on. Later, Tom drove into Ponderosa Creek. He needed to see for himself. The town was quiet. He parked in front of the hardware store. As he walked in, the conversations at the counter stopped. Mr. Henderson looked at him. The other men looked at him. But no one said anything angry. No one turned their back. They just looked. And in their looks, Tom saw a new thing: confusion and maybe a little respect. He bought his supplies. As he was leaving, old Mr. Henderson spoke. "Heard there was some excitement out your way last night." Tom paused at the door. "It was quiet," he said. Then he left. In the afternoon, he drove to the reservation. He went to Lena's blue house. She was outside with Michael and several other elders. They greeted him not with ceremony, but with simple handshakes. They gave him coffee. They talked about the land, about the weather, about the legal steps to protect the sacred sites. They asked about his farm. They talked about fixing his leaning barn together, a community project. No one called him a bridge. They called him Tom. He was just a neighbor now, a neighbor who lived in between. When he drove home as the sun was setting, he saw a figure standing on his porch. It was Ben Carter. Ben's hands were in his pockets. He looked at the ground as Tom got out of the truck. Tom walked up to the porch. He did not speak. Ben cleared his throat. He still didn't look up. Heard Hank Riggs left town today. Got a call from his bosses. They're putting the project on hold. Something about a legal review. Tom waited. Carl told some of the guys what happened last night, Ben said, his voice low. About the people who showed up. He finally looked at Tom. His face was tired and old. I was wrong. I was scared. I'm sorry. Tom looked at his friend. He saw the shame and the courage it took to come here. It's okay, Ben. Is it? Ben asked, his voice cracking. It has to be, Tom said. He gestured to the door. You want some coffee? Ben stared at him, then at the symbol carved into the wood. He let out a long, shaky breath. Yeah, I think I would. Tom opened his door. He did not just see a carved symbol anymore. He saw a story. His story. It was not a story about a lonely man. It was a story about a piece of land and the two communities that, in their own ways, had decided to call it home. He was the keeper of that small, dusty piece of desert, and he was not alone.